Good afternoon, one and all. Myself, P. Ravikrishna. I am from ECE department. Now in this session, I would like to explain the concept star-delta conversion from the course network analysis course. So the topics are conversion of star to delta and delta to star conversion. The formula, derived formula is this. This is called if R1, R2, R3. Here if we can identify this is this connection is from the circuit, we can say this is delta connection, this is star connection. So if star delta connection R1, R2, R3 given to us, then we can determine the star connection Rx, Ry, Rz using that formula. In the same way, if from diagram A star resistors are given, if they asked us to determine delta network resistors, the formula is also there. From there, this formula is once delta is given, we can convert that into star. This is the formula up to this. Now, if star is given to us, that is Rx, Ry, Rz is given to us, then how to find R1, R2, R3? Now I write the formula here. The formula is R1, R2, R3. R1, R2, R3 belongs to which network, which connection? R1, R2, R3 belongs to delta connection. So delta connection resistors can be determined from the star connection Rx, Ry, Rz using this formula. Now I am going to write here. R1 is Rx plus Ry plus Rx, Ry by Rz. Similarly, R2 is Ry plus Rz plus Ry, Rz divided by Rx. This is Ry plus Rz plus Ry, Rz by Rx. The final formula R3, how can we find R3? R3 is the resistor of delta connection. This is star connection. This is star connection. This is delta connection. The last resistance R3 of delta can be determined using star resistors using the formula. R3 is here. So the answer is Rx plus Rz plus Rx, Rz divided by Ry. The formula is Rx plus Rz plus Rx, Rz by Ry. That is R3. That is R. Now our job is to, this is the derived formula. Directly I wrote the derived formula. But how to obtain the formula is also a concept here. For suppose in the examinations they will be asking us derive the formula, how you convert delta to star. The first one is delta to star. Now this is star to delta. This is star to delta. If they gave us star connection resistors, that is Rx by Rx, R by Rz, they will be given to us. We need to find R1, R2, R3 using this formula. Now our job is to, next job is to determine how to derive the formula from this circuit diagrams. Now in the next slide, I will be going to explain how to find the formula. In the previous slide, let me tell you, in the previous slide, the star connection, delta connection networks, both are identical to each other if and only if the resistance between any two terminals, the resistance seen from any two terminals is similar, same, then the star connection and delta connection networks are said to be identical to each other, purely equal to each other. If and only if the resistance seen from any two terminals is same. That means between Rx and Ry here in star connection, between X and Y terminals in delta connection, if the resistances are same, then it will be identical. Now let me derive the formula R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 R3 is equals to Rx. That is from this. Let me tell you this in our next slide. So in the next slide, from star network, between X and Y, the resistance between X and Y terminals is given by, what is the value? Rx plus Ry. The resistance between Y and Z, you can see that here, you can see between, in our previous slide, you can see here, between X and Y, the resistance is Rx plus Ry. Between Y and Z, the resistance is Ry plus Rz. Between X and Z, the resistance, equivalent resistance is Rx plus Rz. That only I am going to write here. So Rx plus Ry, this is Ry plus Rz. And next class, between X and Z terminals In the star connection, from the star circuit, we can write Rx plus Rz, Rx plus Rz. We can say this equation as 1, we can say this equation as 2, we can say this equation as number 3. This is from star. From the star connection, I wrote this. From the star connection, I wrote this formula. Now next from delta connection, also I need to write. From delta connection also I need to write. How can I write from delta? You can see here. Between xy, this is Rx plus Ry. This between yz, Ry plus Rz. Between xz, it is Rx plus Rz. Completed. Now from that is I took a star connection and wrote there. And now I need to take this delta connection. I need to write between xy what is the answer. Between xy it is R1 is parallel with R2, R3. R2 plus R3. So let me write that. From delta connection, I can write same between Rx and Ry. You can see here x and y. X and y, what is there? R1 is in parallel with R2 plus R3. That only I am going to write here. That is R1 is in parallel with R2 plus R3. So what would be the formula? The formula is, it is R1 R2 plus R1 R3 divided by R1 plus R2 plus R3. This is R1 R2. This is 1. Here it is. This is 1. This is R1. This is R1. Okay, now R1 R2, R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. In the same way, between that is x and y. Between y and z, what is there? R2 is in parallel with 1 plus 3. That is between y and z, R2 is in parallel with R1 plus R3. So what would be the answer? It is R1 R2 plus R2 R3, R1 plus R2 plus R3. Here I used the formula of A parallel B and so that means AB by A plus B. AB means, you can check here, AB means R2 into bracket of R1 plus R3. What would be the answer? R1 R2 plus R2 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Here also you can say AB by A plus B plus C. So R1 R2, AB means A into B. B is R2 plus R3. R1 R2 plus R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Last one is there, that is between YZ is completed. Next, between XZ, what is the answer? R3 is in parallel with R1 plus R2. That is between XZ, answer is R3 is in parallel with R1 plus R2. Now we can use the formula again. What is the formula? AB by A plus B. So I can write here R1 R3 plus R2 R3 divided by R1 plus divided by R1. Denominator is same here. Denominator is same. So divided by R1 plus R2 plus R3. R1 plus R2 plus R3. So this is the formula. Now we can give the numbers. I say this is my number because number is up to 3 here. So I can say this is equation 4, this is equation 5, this is equation 6. As I told you earlier, as we discussed in our earlier slide, before slide, what was there? We have discussed that the star connection network and delta connection network both are identical if and only if the resistances between any two terminals are same. So in the next slide, here any two terminals resistance same means, that means here equation 1 equals to equation number 4. Equation 1 is equals to equation 4 because you can see here what is equation 1 LHS RXY. What is equation 4 LHS RXY only. So in the same way 1 equals to 4, equation 2 is equals to 5. So equation 3 is equals to equation 6. Now our job is to equate the RHSs. As LHSs are equal in 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1 and 4 LHS is equal, 2 and 5 LHS is same, 3 and 6 equations LHS is same. So we can simply equate RHSs. I am going to do that in my next slide. So that means 1, 2, 1, 3. Yes. Next slide. Here I can write Rx plus Ry is equals to R1 R2 R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. R1 plus R2 plus R3. In the previous slide, So it is x5 rx plus ry is equals to 1 2 1 3 by 1 plus 2 plus 3. And 2 equals to 5 means yz, y plus z equals to 1 2 2 3. Earlier 1 2 1 3, it is now 1 2 2 3. So next slide, next equation is ry plus rz is equals to r1 r2 r2 r3 by r1 plus r2 plus r3. It is very simple. What I'm doing is now is, as LHSs in those equations are same, so I'm equating RHSs. That I'm doing here now. So here xz, what is xz LH? Ikkada RHS is rx plus rz. What is the RHS of equation number 6? 1 3 2 3. 1 3 2 3. So next slide. This is rx plus rz equals to r1 r3 r2 r3 by r1 plus r2 plus r3. I can say this equation as number 7, equation number 8, equation number 9. I can say these numbers. Now how can we next, what was I tell you in my first slide, very first slide, I told you that our job is to derive the formula, that is the written formula, readily available formula, but we are now deriving that formula, rx equals to r1 r3. For that, my next step is I should do here some equations, operations between the equations. First, my operation is I am going to do equation 7 minus equation 8. Equation 7 minus 8. So what is equation 7 minus 8? We can write that is rx plus ry minus ry minus rz, which is equals to RHS r1 r2 r1 r3 divided by r1 plus r2 plus r3 minus r1 r2 r2 r3 divided by r1 plus r2 plus r3. So here equation 7 minus equation 8. Here also it is equation 7 minus equation 8. 1 2 1 3. Here 1 2 2 3. Right. Now cancel the like terms. What are the like terms? Plus ry minus ry. So this implies this is rx minus rz is equals to, here as the denominators are same, simply we can do numerator like terms cancellation. So cancel the like terms here also. What are the like terms available here? r1 r2 is available in the term 1. Second term, what is the like term? r1 r2. So subtract this, cancel out this r1 r2. So we will be remaining with, the answer is r1 r3 minus r2 r3 divided by r1 plus r2 plus r3. So this is obtained equation, I can say number 10, because up to 9 I wrote already. So this is my equation number 10. This is equation 10. My very next step is, to obtain equation 10, what did I do here? I have done the subtraction. I have subtracted equation 8 from equation 7. So that I got here equation 10. My next step is, I am going to add equation 9. I am going to add equation 9 with equation 10. So that is equation 9 plus equation 10. So I am going to do that same. So what happens here? Rx plus, I am doing here, that is rx plus rz plus rx minus rz is equals to, this is the LHS a plus b, rx plus rz, rx minus rz. What is RHSs here? 1 3 2 3. This is 1 3 r2 r3 divided by r1 plus r2 plus r3 minus, so I'm going to do the operation, mathematical operation, addition, not subtraction. So here plus, so this LHS 9th equation RHS plus 10th equation RHS. So 1 3 2 3. Here it is r1 r3 minus r2 r3 divided by r1 plus r2 plus r3. Now we shall do that mathematical further simplification. So cancel the like terms. Plus rz minus rz will be gets cancelled. So this is rx plus rx. This is rx plus rz. This is rx minus rz. So r plus rz minus rz will be cancelled out. Next we will be remaining with 2 times rx is equals to, here as denominator is same, R1 plus R2 plus R3. Directly we can write the numerator as R1 R3 plus R2 R3 plus R1 R3 minus R2 R3. R2 R3. Now again cancel the like terms. What are the like terms here? Plus R2 R3 minus R2 R3 gets cancelled. Finally we will be remained with this implies 2 times Rx is equals to, this is 2 times R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3, R1 plus R2 plus R3. Now again cancel the 2 here, cancel out the 2. So what is the formula? Hence finally the answer is, therefore Rx is equals to R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. So this is the derived formula. I'm going to show you the earlier slide. What was the formula I wrote there? Rx equals to R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Now let us see. Are we correct or not? You can check here. Rx equals to R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. So correct answer. Similarly, in the same way, we can also determine Ry, Rz equals to R1 R2 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. So this is the way how can we derive the formula. If delta is given to us, delta resistors 1, 2, 3 is given to us, we can find Rx, Ry, Rz in this method, in this manner. In this manner, we can do the problems. So this is Rx is there now. Similarly, we can also write for Ry. What is the formula for Ry? This is 1, 3 na. So Ry means that is 2, 3. Using diagram I can tell you, using diagram. What is Rx? Rx is 1, 3. So Ry is 1, 2. Ry is 1, 2. Right. Ry is 1, 2. So this is R1, R2 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. That is Ry. Next, what is this is for Ry. What is for Rz formula? For Rz, the formula is Rz is, from the diagram you can tell here. From the diagram, Rz formula is Rx is 1, 3 by 1 plus 2 plus 3. Ry is 1, 2 by 1 plus 2 plus 3. Rz is 2, 3 by 1 plus 2 plus 3. 2, 3 by. So here Rz is 2, 3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. So this is the formula for Rz. So Rx, Ry, Rz. With this we got the formula how to convert delta to star. If delta is given to us, star is. Now our very next job is star to delta. Here I told you that what is this? Delta is given to us. We found star. Now if star is given to us, how to find delta? Very simple. In next 10 minutes we can complete this. If Rx, Ry, Rz is with us, how to find R1, R2, R3? That is our next job. So that is next slide. I am going to explain you in my next slide. So simply let us multiply and add. That is Rx, Ry, Rz, Rx. So I am going to do this now. What is Rx? In the earlier we have derived that Rx means, here from the circuit we can say this is Rx 1, 3, Ry is 1, 2, Rz is 2, 3. Now I am going to do that same. That means Rx means R1, R3 by 1 plus 2 plus 3. What is Ry? Ry means that is into, this is R1, R2 by R1 plus R2 plus R3 plus, again what is Ry? This is R1, R2 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Rz means, Z means that is R2, R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Now finally what is Rz? R2, R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. What is Rx and R1, R2 by, sorry, what is Rx? Rx means 1 to 1 into 3. So this is 3. This is 3. This is 1 into R1, R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Now, yes, now I am going to do here, multiply this. This is as for all that, what is the denominator? Denominator is same, R1 plus R2 plus R3 whole square. What would be the numerator? That is R1 square, R2, R3 plus here R1, R2 square, R3 plus R1 R2 R3 square. Just it takes only few more minutes to complete this. Let me finish this. So that is R1 R2, this is R3 square, R1 R2 R3 square by this is. Now we can do here one more for mathematical further. I can simplify mathematically further. That is, we can take this common as R1 R2 R3. Okay, in the three terms, how many terms are there? Here in the numerator there are three terms, that is a plus b plus c. The common thing is in a, b, c, the common thing is R1 R2 R3. So the remaining thing is R1. After taking common R1 R2 R3, this is R1 plus R2 plus R3 divided by R1 plus R2 plus R3 whole square. Now I can cancel this square and R1 R2 R3. So it is R1 R2 R3 divided by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Now my next job is to, this is LHS is this, RHS is this. Now divide this with X. My next step is, last step, this is divide the LHS and RHS with RX. Now I am doing that. So what is the answer? RX plus RY plus RY into RX RY RZ plus RX RZ divided by RX is equals to, what is right hand side there? R1 R2 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. So here cancel the like terms. What are the like terms here? RX cancelled, here RX cancelled. So in my next step I can write here as, this is RX, this is XY YZ, this is XZ, this is XZ, this is X into Z. So RX into RZ divided by RX. So what would be my next equation? Next equation is, it is RY plus RZ plus, because in the two terms, if I say it is A plus B plus C, in A RX cancelled na, RX na, C RX cancelled na. So what happens here? RY plus RZ plus RY RZ divided by RX. It is left hand side. RHS is here also by I forgot to write by RX na, divided by RX. I forgot to write here, divided by RX. So what can I write in my next step? R1 R2 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Here A by B by C by D means 1 by RX into 1 by RX into 1 by RX I can write. So which is equals to RY plus RZ plus RY RZ divided by RX is equals to, this is R1 R2 R3 by R1 plus R2 plus R3. Now as we already have what is RX? RX means, we know that RX means, what is RX? RX is 1 3 by 1 plus 2 plus 3. It is not RX, 1 by RX. So 1 by RX means I should write, this is R1 plus R2 plus R3 divided by R1 plus R1 R3. RX is already we have, because in our earlier slide we derived the formula for RX. RX is R1 R3 by R1 plus R2 R3. Here 1 by RX is there. That is why I wrote here R1 plus R2 plus R3 by R1 R3. Now cancel out the like terms. What are the like terms? R1 R3 cancelled out. R1 plus R2 plus R3 cancelled out. So the final answer we have remained with, therefore finally R2 is equals to, what is the formula? RY plus RZ plus RY RZ by RX by RX. This is the derived formula. Now I am going to show you what was we have written in our first slide. The formula is R2 equals to Y plus Z plus YZ by RX. Now let us check for the answer. So here R2 equals to RY plus RZ plus RY RZ by RX. Exactly, we derived the same formula. R2 equals to Y plus Z plus YZ by X. So what is there in equation in a slide 6? Yeah, slide 5. What is the answer? R2 is equals to Y plus Z, RY plus RZ plus RY RZ by RX. Exactly same. Similarly, we can also write for the remaining two expressions, that is 1 equals to and 3 equals to. I'll write here. Similarly, what would be the formula for 1? 1 means, R1 means, that is, R1 means RY from the circuit I can write here, from the circuit I can tell you R1. What is R1? R1 means what is opposite? Z, correct. R1 means, I can write here R1 equals to Ry, yeah, this is Rx plus Ry. R1 equals to Rx plus Ry plus Rx, Ry by Rz. And finally, R2 already we have derived here. R2 equals to yz, y plus z plus yz by x. 1 equals to x plus y plus xy by z. Next, lastly, what is R3? R3 means Rx plus Rz plus Rx, Rz divided by Ry. This is the formula for R1. This is the formula for R3. This is the formula for R2. We got all three expressions. Okay, na? Finally.